What is up, everybody? Good morning. It is Wednesday, December 22nd. We got a special one today. A lot happening in the market. A lot of things I want to say. Some drama, some floors crashing, floors changing. Actually, like literally 2 seconds ago, as I was about to start recording, something happened regarding Punks and Apes. So we'll get into that immediately. Really excited though. Hope you're all doing well. Just want to start it off with kind of just a message from, that I have pinned, and I think it's super important. Everybody needs to know that, as you're joining this environment, this community, we're supportive people, right? I think that it's often thought like, hey, these crypto people, they don't want outsiders joining. If I don't know it, they're not going to want to help me. But we've seen that time and time again. This community wants to see the outsiders, the people who are curious, come in, ask the questions. We want to help you become part of Web 3.0. So don't be scared. Ask them, and we're all going to make it. Let's jump into it. Shaq dropped his profile photo project alongside with Notable's company. This is something I'm actually been a little bit involved with. They've essentially decided that, well, not decided, but it's part of Shaq's kind of mission with this project to give every single proceed, every single penny from royalties, primary sale, whatever, to charity. He runs his own charity. I really hope that you give this a look. They actually gave me, my brother Dylan, some money so that we could go out and buy toys for our community. We ended up filling up an entire pickup truck with toys and dropping that off on Sunday, and man, there was not a dry eye in the house. It was really amazing. And yeah, I'm really hats off to Shaq. He's doing something that's notable, and he's giving back to the community. And I really hope you go and look it out. Tropo also going out and buying a full car of toys. Really excited for this, and in this time of the year, it's, I think, important to give back. And this kind of shows off how the Web 3.0 community is doing some good. And here's actually a photo. So we filled up the whole back of the truck. And yeah, everybody was wondering why we had so many toys, but a lot of fun. Danny Cole, over the last few days, releasing phase 2, the second journey for Creature World. This is interesting, right? Like, I think it really displays the fact that having an NFT, like, why does this have to be an NFT? Why does it not have to be a digital, like, why can't it just be an image, right? Why does it have to be on the blockchain? I think he's answered the question quite well, right? This is art that gives you access. It's art that serves as a utility. Having a creature allowed you to go into Creature World. And you jump in to the clouds, you fall, and you're surrounded by creatures, and you go on this journey, and you find your voice. And it's a very unique experience of how you can manipulate the metadata of an NFT. I think some people really got this, right? The art community, the people that were like, I think see Danny's artistic skill and his artistic vision, get it. I think that we're seeing the floor pull back, right? The floor is like around 2 all the way to 1 ETH right now. And that is truly, in my opinion, due to a lot of people being speculative on this purchase and saying, hey, whatever Danny releases is going to cause the floor to shoot to 10 ETH. And we're not seeing that. I think that's part of the issue. A lot of these projects, especially on hype is so dangerous if you're launching a project right now. If you are building this like mystique and hype around a project, people will come in expecting for that news to drop and for it to change the entire game, for everybody to become millionaires. And that's just not the way it works, especially when this is a very creative process, right? If this is an entire financial, operation where, Danny's announcement was supposed to provide dividends and make your NFT worth triple, then yes, it would be a fail. But this is not a financial, asset, right? Like, Danny did not come out and promise you, I'm going to make you money. He promised you art, he promised you NFTs, and he promised to push the barrier. So I have no issues with it. I love it. it really was amazing. Really excited to see what comes next. Pulling up a photo real quick for part of the journey. Um, yeah, really, really cool. I encourage anybody who has a creature to go check it out before it's too late. Um, in other news, I love talking about these, but I hate talking about these. Kraken, uh, the Kraken, man. I sold this for 2.5. I originally minted it. It's a one of one from Pindar. Looking back, it was a very, very short-sighted move. I knew what I had, and I knew it was special. I thought at the time I was getting a great deal, but I wasn't, right? Like, I think this is where it comes down to, like, hold if you can, don't sell if you don't have to. Short-term gains are very risky because long-term you can see something really appreciate. Yeah, this is like the fourth or fifth time I've absolutely paper-handed something, bringing my total paper hand to probably closer to $2 million at this point. Between like all the apes that I sold after I minted them. What else? Twin Flame ran up all the way to 200 ETH at one point. A bunch of other stuff, right? Like this is part of the game. Hold if you can. Don't let your JPEGs be bought up by somebody else who's gonna diamond hand them. Gary Vaynerchuk releasing the Veecon speakers. Really excited for this. This will be in Minneapolis, I believe. This is only like 25% of the speakers, so a bunch more to come. The most notable speaker on here that I was really happy to see is that Gary himself is speaking. Really excited for that. But on top of that, we have Drifter. We have who else? We have Banks. We had, I think, Logan Paul on there. Kevin Rose, Beeple. A lot of really good names. Even seen Tom on there, and Tom Sachs as well. Tony Herrera. I mean, like, look, this is great, and I think it shows, right? Like, Gary is going to put on a experience. It's not going to be, here's some speakers. I really believe it's going to be an experience and something that we all walk away from when we look. And this is the new South by Southwest, right? Like, I got the vibes of South by Southwest in New York, Miami, not so much, but like, we're missing it. We're missing this NFT Web 3.0 focused, like, just value growth add environment, and I think this is going to be it. Moving on. So there's been some drama, right? We've talked about Pugs and Apes, the flipping happening. Actually, we'll see where it is when we get to it. But at the beginning of this video, like I said, it happened, right? There was a flip. But in other drama, and I think this is interesting as the market of Punks and Apes is speaking, right? It's showing the market speaking. Anonymoux listed a Hackatao piece. Their listing apparently was confronted by Hackatao saying, hey, this must be a mistake. You've listed this for far too low. And this kind of brings in the whole discussion of, like, can artists be part of the discussion around what you're listing a piece for? If you're telling your holders, hey, this is what I want you to sell it at, and kind of controlling the market, what is that organic? I think this ultimately comes down to the market is going to speak. The market never lies. If I listed a Bored Ape for 20 and I was like, yeah, I don't like Bored Apes, they're worth 20, the market is going to show me that that is not the case. It's going to sell immediately, right? I think we're also seeing how over time artists, I guess, not only demand, but their supply is going to change, right? Xcopy is like the golden child. Like if I could tell anybody copy this and like use their philosophy for releasing art and their supply, and how and who they're releasing with, Xcopy is just blue chip, right? And I think a lot of artists are now struggling with, okay, can I release here? Can I release here? Can I release here? Can I do a project that's 500? Can I do a project that's 2 weeks later that's 1,000? And I think we're gonna see a little bit of kind of buyer fatigue, collector fatigue. And it's just something to note. No hate at either Anonymoux or Hackatao. It's something that I want people to understand, though, that there are collectors, there are artists that are kind of butting heads at it to a bit. And there are people that believe their art's worth more. There are collectors that think their art is worth the things they've bought are worth more. But the market doesn't lie. Use the market as your I think your Pinocchio, right? Like, it just doesn't lie. Or if you think it is, it's very easy to see what's happening there. Stephen Curry releasing alongside Under Armour NFT shoes. Really, really interesting here. Under 3,000 of these shoes being dropped. There seem to be some issues, I think, alongside the drop. But most notably, I think it was scrolling through the comments and seeing people saying, like, what the hell is this? Why are you telling me to buy digital shoes? And just a lot of issues, right? We see this with a lot of drops. But it did seem like East Coast was the only people, were the only people that could buy this. You got this comes down to like testing. This comes down to, if you're going to have like geographic gating, if you're going to have anything, you need to have that extensively tested. I'm sure they did some testing. But it's a shame, right? Like, I really wish that this had been a little bit better. I think Under Armour missed a chance to drop education on what NFTs are. Like, if you're a brand, I'll scream it at you. You need to be, we're in a white glove onboarding period. This is not Web 2.0, 10 years in, where it's, 2020, and everybody knows how a Shopify website works, where you can click and check out and add shipping, right? In the beginning, I think it was a little bit more confusing. Like, it was scary, right, to put your credit card on the internet, and, it was confusing. How is this going to get, like, it was early, right? We are early right now. That's the whole point. A little confusing there. Excuse me. But we're so early. And if you are dropping something, you need to explain to your buyers and your consumer base who aren't aware of what's happening, what is happening, why it's happening, and how to participate and why they should participate. Don't just drop a link and say, go buy some shoes. You're not helping your case. You're making yourself look bad, I think, to your loyal fans that just haven't gotten to 3.0. And it's a good look. But best of luck to Curry. Oh, so one of my favorite pieces of news here. Manifold dropping finally. Devs did something, right? Like, can devs do something? It's so simple, right? Like, just do it. It was amazing to see the video from Nick with the can devs do something, and whitelist. Every day I check whitelist, same whitelist. I got a really good laugh out of that. It was amazing. I talked to Richard yesterday for 30 minutes. I don't think people realize this. Like, he didn't know what an NFT was until December 31st of 2020. And before that, he was just playing. Like, this is not like he's been working at this forever. This is like the man found an NFT, and within 3 days, he's like, NFTs are my life. This is it. This is my calling. And he literally has been coding for 12 months nonstop on Manifold and building it and exploring, and just I have to say, there is nothing more exciting than what Richard and the Manifold team are doing. They are going to change the game. I know that they are looking at reestablishing what NFTs mean for Web 3.0, what NFTs mean for not only the digital art market, but for every other market. And I'm very excited to see what they come out with. I kind of, that's a lot of hype, right? But I'm very excited to see what they do. So Manifold Studio, if you're not aware, is a studio that allows you to go to Manifold's website and create your own contracts. This means contracts that you yourself own. And that's so important, right? If you go to mint on OpenSea, you're actually minting and creating that NFT on an OpenSea shared contract. It means you don't really own it. And in Web 3.0, provenance and ownership are so important. Oh my God. And with Manifold Studio, you can do images, you can do videos. I know they've talked about bringing in AI and ML tools, photography batch tools, royalty management. They're really trying to make this kind of like a hub. I see it as like a Shopify, but for creation. I think Shopify, and there will be many other one-of-one marketplaces are definitely going to ramp up, but we haven't seen, right? Like NFT 42 has not really come out with like this, hey, drag drop, make your own project. It's great. And I think there's a lot of people working towards it, but Manifold, I mean, just busting through the door and saying, we're here, we're ready to play. And it's pretty simple. You log in, you can you verify, and you just go start your contract. And you make a name, you put in your ticker symbol, you can add your ASCII art, and then once you do that, the contract can be deployed to testnet. I should do a video walking through this, and maybe I'll do that with Richard. That'd be really fun. But please go check out Manifold Studio. Go sign up. This is something that I think a lot of people are going to use going forward. And Manifold is, it's the blue chip creation studio right now. It's a contract studio. Let's look at the market. We've been going for like 16 minutes already. Just check out the market. The market's a little interesting over the last week. Adidas at the top, which is interesting, right? Like Bored Ape Yacht Club and Punks for most of the last couple months have just been 1 and 2 and 3, with your occasional straggler that just pops in there. But we're seeing Adidas, Clone X, and then CryptoPunks for the top 3. CryptoPunks currently, like I said, have pulled back quite a bit. I remember in October we saw this run all the way up into like 139 ETH floor, or 142, somewhere around there. And now we are back down to the low mid 50s on CryptoPunks. Clone X floor has fallen all the way to 4.6. This is expected after reveal. People, the non the ones that haven't been in high demand falling down. And then for Adidas, right? Like we had a ton of hype. Everybody was really excited about this. We saw this run all the way to 1 ETH. And now we're just kind of seeing there's going to be kind of like a cool down period. We always see this, right? Like the hype, and then what's next? Everybody moves on to the next thing. And now we're in like kind of a consolidation, relaxed period. We'll probably see the price settle somewhere, and then that'll be a good acquisition period. And then they'll announce something, and the price will shoot up, right? It's a pattern you have to recognize. We're just scrolling through here. Anything interesting? We'll jump into some projects in a second. I'm just trying to see if there's anything that really jumps out at me volume wise or price wise. Like I said, Creature World, definitely recovering. We saw this under 1 ETH at one point. We've come back. I think the last 24 hours, people have said, hey, this is a blue chip. This is something that's super interesting. Should own it. Yeah, let's hop into it real quick here. The vials at one point 13 ETH. Yeah, I'm not sure what the absolute high was on this. Yeah, like we were like 12, 13 ETH for a little bit, and that was a short period. And now I think the vials are at that moment where, okay, the hype's gonna start to like kind of die off a little bit. I think we'll see these settle around 7 to 8 ETH at some point. And that then begs the question of, what do I do? Do I grab a vial and claim it, or do I just go buy what I want? You're playing a risky game. It's a gambling game, right? Like you could spend 10 and mint something worth 4. That's a 6-8 ETH negative, right? But you could also at the same time spend 10 and mint something that's worth 100. it kind of comes down to what's your philosophy on the mint files, what's your philosophy on CloneX and the Nike acquisition. Are these going to become absolute blue chips over the next year that are worth 10 ETH, where you're like, hey, like I kept my money, we're safe, did not hurt me. It's, in my opinion, and this is, I can't give financial advice here, nothing I say is financial advice. CloneX is always going to be something, right? Nike acquisition shows that this is kind of like the first big, corporation that's going to say, hey, Web3 is a big part of what our brand is going to turn to. It'll be very interesting to see what they do next, and how they use the brand. So possibly, we'll see. Make your decision. I'm curious what you do. If you had 10 ETH right now, would you buy 2 on the floor? One that's a little bit nicer, premium, that you like, around like 8 to 10, or would you roll the dice on the mint file? Let me know in the comments below. Originals, like I said, we had the hype. We saw it hit like 1, average price around like 0.9, and then we're gonna trail off. Pretty simple. We'll see what happens there. But as you can see, there's still volume, right? Like even we're still seeing these churn 0.75. There's still definitely some buyers, and this is like on a Wednesday, several days after this is dropped, almost a week after this is dropped. We're seeing like within the last hour, probably, I don't know, that looks like 30 to 50 sales. So there's lots happening. This is just a Wednesday morning. And then looking at the floor right now for CloneX, just checking it out. I think there's good. The floor's not terrible, right? Like I think the floor's got interesting ones. I think it comes down to people wanting, what do they want? Like if you want a rare one of these, it's gonna cost you. I'm sure for like an ice, where there's only 400. Well, see, this is interesting, right? The type, there's actually it's an interesting. I have to look through this collection, right? There's some interesting stuff happening. Yeah, you can get a 1 of 98 for just over the cost of a mint vial. And this is, so that's interesting. Like if you hit, if you get the 99th one of these, you're only technically really positive 3 ETH. And so I think that actually says a lot. I think where, the real interesting is the McCurry drip, Murakami drip. God, somebody's gonna make fun of me for that mispronunciation. The Murakami drip is obviously like the most sought after. People want it, and it's going to be really what defines like a valuable item, in my opinion. These super rares, the one of ones, are like the holy grail, and that's where you're gonna make your money, in my opinion. After looking at some of these attributes, or just looking really quickly, I'd have to be convinced in some other way to buy a vial. In my opinion, right now, not buying the vial, just buying off market is a much safer bet. But I think we still also need, I would wait. Like I honestly think there's some more time that you can wait. We saw this with mint passes. We saw this with meta heroes. At one point that was like 6 or 7, maybe 8 ETH. And the mint passes close to 10. We've saw how that's really pulled down once the attention goes other directions. People are gonna be like, hey, I need to get out of this position. I bought this for 4. I just need it gone. I'll sell it for 3. And then the floor keeps kind of falling. You'll see vials fall. That's how I would play this. Doodles 3.5. We've definitely seen some volume over the last 30 days come back. Average price over the last 30 days since Miami, also kind of showing that people are excited. This is a brand. I think we've seen a lot of animation come out around the doodles. People are saying this is just like a straight up cartoon powerhouse potential. So I'm excited. If I saw this pull back, I would buy another. All of my friends and I now have doodles. I'm a big fan. Very excited for what doodles have coming. Just quickly looking at Creature World. We'll look at the last 14 days. Just give everybody an idea. We were hanging here. There's some hype right up into the announcement. a lot of volume in. And this is kind of like, it comes back to like buy the rumor, sell the news. Like this is like buy before the hype, sell into the hype, and then if it misses, that's kind of like the safe bet if you're gonna be a trader. I will say though, for Danny and Creature World, this is an amazing project. They have so much more planned. The artistic ability from that team is overwhelming. And I think we're at a point now where just like the market has said we value we value ETH more than art. And that's I think a mistake. And I think now is a good opportunity to get into Creature World. I really do. I think this is now a opportune time to consider buying one. And again, not financial advice. This is like I'm just theoretically saying this. But yeah, I would seriously consider looking at creatures. I think that they're heavily undervalued. And we'll see what happens with those. Nuclear Nerds. Interesting to see this project not taking off. There's a ton of hype at reveal, ton of hype at mint. And then we haven't seen much. We're down to between 100 and 200 secondary sales a day. This could, I have a feeling, right? Like, and everything I look at, I just look at like what I've past done. This has a feeling of, I get a little bit of Punk's comic. I get a little bit of Wizards of Runes. I get, there's some like comparables that I get there, right? I think this is one we'll probably see be very quiet. We'll see the cost stay, below 0.1 to get in. And then on one day, it's just something's going to happen. I can see this potentially being something that takes off. The team has really explained how they're trying to make a media and IP play on this. And if they can pull that off, there's a potential to really have something valuable and exciting. And this is a little bit of a gamble, right? Like, it's very early. And I had the same discussion while I was looking at a venture investment last night. If you were so early that there's like, hey, you haven't made X, Y, or Z, progress, there is no, like, this is a blank slate. This is like, here's a blank roadmap. Here's where we want to go, what we want to do. It is fully executional, risk on the team to get all of that done. I know Simon is on the team. I really believe in Simon. So I'm holding on to the 23, 24 that I have. And we'll see what happens, right? Like, I'm very excited to see if they can pull off this IP play. If they do, it'll be super exciting. And the devs have done a great job so far, so that also reassures me. This is interesting, right? The Toads all the way down to 2.25. We've seen these not hold at all. We were at a point where the average price for one of these is 21. I ended up selling a 1 of 1 for 35 ETH. And we saw that, now I think, at one point they were selling for over 100. It's going to be interesting, right? Like, this is the whole like CCO, what's a blue chip, what do people like? This is a community, right? Saying I have a Toad is like kind of like a crypto punk, right? It's like the 2021 it's not like this sexy brand that's throwing music festivals and doing yacht parties, right? Like Bored Ape Yacht Club. This is more of like, hey, like, I'm an OG, I recognize that this is cool. I'm part of the Toad Club. I'll definitely buy back in at some point. We've seen average prices and number of sales really dipping here. Definitely keep an eye on this market though. Like, if this continued to come back further and further, there would be some very interesting plays for what I consider a blue chip, in my opinion. But it really comes down to what's going to happen within the community, around the community, that's going to elevate the price, right? If you're thinking about this from purely an investment standpoint, what has to happen to make these more valuable? We'll have to keep our eyes on the Toads. And as always, let's check to see what the 1 of 1s are worth. Always curious there. One of one's now down to 69, and as you can see, there's a lot of people that are just trying to. I think we're going to slowly see this kind of pull back. And my toad now worth 215 ETH. Last bought for 35, so that has not had any biters. We'll have to see. Keep an eye on the toads. Wolf game, very interesting, right? This is a long morning, man. Back to my origins, right? But I do think that it's worth like kind of just catching everybody up on what's going on and what I'm thinking. Excuse me. Wolf game is very interesting because we saw the 4 ETH floor on sheep, and then we had the contract issue, and they've migrated and removed that risk. But here's the thing, right? Like, why I'm still interested in Wolf game, why I think also what we'll see, this actually has to do with Gary Vee, why I think Gary Vee is going to find a way to kind of not replicate this, but use the same ideas, the same game strategy for book game that he's doing. I'm sure what Gary is going to do is he's going to reward his book holders with a certain number of NFTs. The NFTs will create some sort of token. There's going to be trading, and the people who didn't buy his book, or the only way to get into the game is to buy, will now be his book again. It's going to be, I honestly think we'll see something like that. I think Gary and Wolf Game Game is rubbed off more on Gary than we think. That's kind of my like YOLO conspiracy theory for what we'll see with that. But I think Wolf Game, stepping back, only looking at Wolf Game, has a lot of value to it from the perspective of, I know the dev is one of the best devs in Ethereum. They have proven time and time again that they can be creative. They have proven time and time again they understand economics, and they know how to execute. I really do think once there is an actual game, an actual visual component to this other than just staking, this will be one of the most interesting things happening. If I see the floor price drop closer to 0.1, I don't think we'll see it go that low, but if we start to see the floor price fall a little bit more, I think this is a really interesting arbitrage play for risk and what is coming in 2022. It's something that if I was a guild or if I was a portfolio, this is worth throwing throwing some ETH at. I think it's a YOLO play, right? And I think that there could really be a return here. I think that it could be an exciting game. I know we have Anonymoux also improving and looking how they can step up their game. We've seen the Ether Orcs also stepping up their game. I think this is something to keep an eye on, and definitely don't let your attention, like I said, everybody's attention is like here, and then the next day it's 90 degrees away and they're looking at something else. Make sure as the attention changes, you look back and say, hey, this is still happening. Can I get in for a good price? Is this something I see coming back? All right, so let's get into the big discussion today. And the rest of the talk is going to be on CryptoPunks and Bored Ape Yacht Club, Meebits, Larva Labs, and dogs and mutant apes and Bored Ape Yacht Club. This has been an ongoing discussion, right? Like the flippening. What's a Meebit plus a punk worth versus a dog, a mutant, and an ape worth? The whole flippening there. And so Yuga Labs and Larva Labs are now kind of like pinged against each other. Like, are you that 17 OG or are you the 21 OG, right? Like this, they're two different environments and two different demographics of ownership. Meebits have kind of just been like this rock solid floor where we've seen some bit of change, but it hasn't been too crazy, right? We've kind of stuck in this like 3 to 4 ETH channel, and as of late we've started to see this start to kind of fall off, where average sales are now going down to 3. And it's been like this for forever, right? Like we haven't seen too much craziness of Meebits. It's just been steady. And what I can tell you is if something were to come out for Meebits, we would see this floor probably erupt, right? I can see this doubling. This is if you can get money into Meebits for 3 and lower, I can see that being a safe bet, right? This is one of the most iconic, um, you know, most iconic teams in NFTs alongside Yuga. But Larva Labs definitely is working on something or has something planned for Meebits. I can see that announcement coming within the next 2 years. I can see the price of these in ETH really adjusting from wherever they are on that day. Because obviously it's going to be a big announcement. Everybody's going to want in, and people won't be holding because they'll have just said, "Hey, I don't want in." Definitely keep an eye on Meebits. The same thing with dogs, right? I think dogs are another example of like they're kind of just been chilling, right? Like here's the last 90 days. There was some hype going into NFT NYC. And I think a lot of people are just kind of holding and buying in. And whenever there's a token announcement in Q1, like has been rumored, or suggested, I think from the team that Q1's when they're aiming for that token. I think the dogs will provide a lot of value. It's one of those things, right? So Meebits, dogs, kind of like the not talked about part of each of those development teams. The big discussion here is mutants are how are they going to be utilized? We've seen this floor come back over the last few days. If you look at the last 7 days, we were hanging with average sales, down at 7, and then it's kind of popped off, and we've added about an ETH on the average price. But I think this is just as we saw things start to kind of fall back a little bit. People bought back in, and now the whole narrative is that hey, apes are number one. I don't think that's the case. And so let's actually look at this because I'm curious where we're at. So on the ape floor, we're at 52.35, and on punks, we're at 52.69. So 52 and 52. So we're it's there, right? Like they're neck and neck. And I'm sure if we go to activity for sales, that there was probably one that happened and came in. So let's see. I'm curious. Yeah, so like I'm sure somebody listed one, and here it is. It's probably this, which was just about when we started the video. Yeah, so I think this was actually the floor at one point, and yeah, this got purchased. Then somebody must have listed something for a little bit lower. So they're both 52.69. The floors are equal. There was a technical flippening that happened today. And here's why everybody's kind of like screaming and saying, "Oh, like apes are better." It's not that way, right? And this is actually a little concerning to me from a perspective of, I really do think that there is no like real winner in this situation. I think it shows that Larva Labs being kind of just, we're gonna do our thing and we'll announce stuff if it happens or when it happens. The market isn't valuing that right now. The market is valuing projects that are showing, hey, we're going to do a token. Hey, we have plans for metaverse. Hey, celebrities associate with this. And it's social signaling. And I don't think punks have lost their social signaling. I think all they're missing is the fact that Larva Labs isn't very communicative on what they're doing. And I don't think it's a good thing for the market, right? I think this is I feel a little bit of froth in the market. It feels like there's some hype. I feel like there's a little bit of propped up, floors and market caps for a lot of these projects, as investors are saying like, hey, this is the next big thing. And so you're probably going to see a lot of money flowing into the Bored Ape Yacht Club ecosystem. We're probably going to see the floor really hang there, but this is speculative money, I think, that's flowing in. These are not people that are going to diamond hand these and hold these forever. And I think the opposite is happening with punks right now. It's speculative money that is getting out of the game. And I think that we hit a point probably around 70 ETH, which was where I always thought it would be. where you're gonna see a lot of these punks that are being sold at, hey, I got to get out because I bought it at X, Y, or Z, and it's getting back to, it's either way under what I bought it at, or it's getting close to where I bought it at, back when this whole eruption of punk started. And I'm sure if you look at that, that's what you'll see. So no, this one, of course, the first one I look at, no, it was a February purchase. And so here's what you have. I remember that time period is August. So August is when a lot of this buy-in happened as the floor rose. And so this is exactly what you have. You have this guy who bought at 50, offered it for sale at 71, offered it, and so they bought it here at 50. They then decided in December, as they saw the floor starting to fall, that they didn't want it. They wanted to get profits out on it. And then they've just kind of been lowering it and saying, hopefully somebody buys it. And they really only made a 4 ETH profit. Now, granted, when this sold, 50 ETH back then was $138,000. And at this point, it's $200,000. But I think that's a lot of what you're seeing happen here within the punks. Let's see here. Another August purchase. And this person in December decided, oh shit, it might go below what I bought it for. I want my ETH. And so they held it since August, and they made 5 ETH, 6 ETH. And I think, again, that's what we're gonna see happen within this. So yeah, I don't think it's a great thing. I'm not excited to see punks dropping like this. It's never a good thing to see an OG and blue chip project falling. It does also worry me what if Apes kind of skew off of their roadmap? What if they delay something? Does the market really react in a negative way and start dumping Apes because it's a speculative buy and people were in it for the money? It'll be interesting, right? I'm sure Beanie or somebody else is going to make a comment about, hey, this is how the collectibles market works. But it's very interesting to see how that's playing out. And so, yeah, it happened earlier today. We can look a little bit at degen data to just kind of see the volume, over the last month. And really what you just see is Apes holding steady, more holders getting into the game, and then with CryptoPunks, that average price and floor price has just been slowly bleeding off, ever since that October high, and really I really do think it comes down to what is the project talking about, and that's why I think if Larva Labs was ever to announce something on Meebits or CryptoPunks or an IP play or a movie deal with Netflix, because remember, they are partnered with big agencies, and that's not for no reason, right? You will see the prices of these definitely change, and I think also part of this has to do around IP ownership as well, but that's a whole nother video. Let me connect here. Looking at the price of ETH real quick, we've been in this kind of like sideways movement between 4,000 and 3,700, and we're just kind of in this channel moving sideways. What do I think is gonna happen? I don't know a crystal ball. All I can say is long term, right? Like, we're gonna see more cryptocurrency adoption. The markets have been really interesting. And it's been for a multitude of reasons, right? Like, there's been China tension, there's COVID concerns, there's everything happening, right? There's not going to be a single reason. Also, like, people are like saying this whole crash from 4,800 is due to, a single thing. No, it's due to, high open interest percentage on of people using leverage, and once that started to enter margin calls, then the whole market kind of goes into a snowball effect, and China tensions, all these different things, right? So my suggestion to you is, make sure your taxes are taken care of. Make sure if like this drops to 2,500, you can still pay your taxes. Make sure you're not using too much leverage. Make sure you're being risk adverse, and you're managing your risk in a smart way. I do think we'll have to let the market show us a direction at some point. It will choose what it's going to do within this 3,700 to 4,000 range. But obviously, it's kind of shown like that we're on this downward trend, and we're just kind of waiting for some real direction to establish itself. We'll see. We'll see. Like I said, I don't have a crystal ball. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I hope this was a informative morning mint. Hopefully do them every morning going forward. Starting to get kind of a studio set up here in Maryland. I'll also be building up the studio in California. I've got a bunch of art coming. William Tan. I've got a piece from Amber. I've got a piece from Danny Cole. I've got a ton of art coming for here, and I'm also gonna start buying some art for California. Really excited for that one. Let me know if you have any suggestions. I offered up an anonymous link to leave any feedback, but if you have any suggestions for me, feedback for what you've seen this last year, what you want to see in 2022, please leave that. It helps a ton. And thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.